Welcome to the KDrama Show. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Kim.
We're here to unpack your all-time favorite Korean dramas and chat about all the reasons that we find these shows so charming.
And so addictive. And we know you do too, so settle in with some ramen and a boba tea while we dive into the Kdrama Show with Ashley and Kim.
No, shut up. You look cute.
No, I'm glad you think so. Let me move my camera a little bit.
I could have at least put on mascara or something. Or
I washed my face.
brushed my hair. See, I didn't do any of that.
I brushed my face for y'all. I did that too. I mean, this morning.
Yeah,
coffee.
I haven't had a chance yet, but...
Oh.
What's up, party people of the world?
That's my... We were talking about Bluey a second ago.
Yes.
My favorite... Oh my gosh.
Is that your stomach?
Yes, it's like...
It's the cat trying to get out.
My favorite is, I think it's, like the first or second episode of season 1, Keepy Uppy.
Yes.
Yes, I know Bluey titles. I love it. Watch it all the time.
I know the song, so...
Oh, absolutely. But when their dad walks in, what up, party people?
I actually just watched that episode
Did you?
yesterday, so...
I love that episode. I walk into my sister's house with the kids and be like, what up, party people? And they just go, Ashy!
Aw, that's so cute.
No, but in case y'all didn't know, we love kimchi jjigae.
It's a problem.
It is...
It's to the point where I've started making our own kimchi, because it's getting too pricey otherwise.
Your kimchi turned out so good, though.
It was good this time.
It was
that first
so
batch was
good.
questionable. Like, it was okay.
It was good, but it's like you need to have those couple...
Extra things and weeks.
Well, just like, yeah, practice,
Yeah.
really.
I let it soak a lot longer in the salt water. I think that was some of it.
Part of it, yeah. But the first time I ever tried kimchi jjigae was at Tofu House in Colorado.
Yes, that's right.
And I fell in love and was like, I need to know how to make this. And then I found a recipe and Kim goes, so you can make this every day?
It was so good. The first time trying the kimchi jjigae was life-changing. We live in the middle of nowhere. We don't get food like that.
No, and so I found a good recipe and now I have that recipe stuck in my brain.
I'm so glad.
And
am I supposed to look at the picture inside of the mug, or am I supposed to sip from the picture inside of the mug?
I don't know. I always looked at it.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
But man, once you hit 30, you're just
I haven't told you happy birthday in person yet.
Thanks.
생일 축하합니다. 생일 축하합니다.
Now I'm gonna have my face.
사랑하는 Ashley. 생일 축하합니다.
Started a new decade.
It's a good decade.
I had my friend that was with me in Atlanta, and she goes, Kay, what have you learned in 30 years? And I believe I said, people are crazy, pick good ones, and drink more water.
Okay. I feel attacked.
No, and then...
You just added that specifically for me. I know you did.
No, I'm looking at me. But then she was like, what do you mean by pick good ones? And I was like, you need to just pick good people. Makes life a lot easier when you don't have crazy people in your life. Unless you are the crazy one.
We balance each other well. It's okay.
But
between the two of us, we make one sane and one crazy, and then you bad and crazy.
Bad and crazy.
Don't take off your pants. It's not that kind of party. Already, she's already taken off her glasses again. Oh, is that the new, like, squeal? Is instead you just take your glasses off and shake your head at me?
Well, that way I can, like... Facepalm without breaking my glasses. My mom made cookies the other day, and I was like, chocolate chip cookies? Don't mind if I do.
But chocolate chip cookies are one of those things where it's kind of like the butter cuts the sweet, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but also my mom makes really, really good cookies. like, she's known for making cookies, so...
Bake them cookies, Lucille. Don't tell her I said that.
I won't. Are you ready for some tea?
Yes.
Yes.
I panicked. I panicked because what?
I said computing.
Spinning.
Back in the day.
Oh. Did you know? You remember Y2K?
Vaguely.
Okay, but you know what Y2K is.
Yeah.
There's another one coming up.
Of course there is. It was in 2012 too, and I was supposed to...
No, but it's specifically a Y2K happening again. In 2038.
Yeah, we got time.
Yeah, that's exactly. But anyway, I'm not a techie person. I know I look like the demographic of people that should be techie. I'm not.
She's techier than I am, but...
Which, not by much.
By a lot more than you think. But anyway,
so in 2038, apparently it's supposed to turn over again. And if they don't figure out how to solve that algorithm issue or that counting issue, we're going to face another Y2K. But since they've done it once, I think they already think that they know what they can implement to fix that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the other systems don't implode until like 20,000 years from now.
Oh,
this
okay.
one specifically is coming due in like 14 years. Again, we have some time. And if the internet were to implode, I don't know if that'd be a totally bad thing.
I mean, not necessarily. I hate the internet now, other than for our podcast. And for
the tea.
For the tea and for the fact that without internet, I can't watch K-dramas. I mean, I care about
You're gonna need them on DVD. Just kidding.
Hey, I love buying shows on DVD. I'm actually watching The Nanny right now because I have it on DVD.
We talked about that last 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah. I love that show.
It's so good.
It's hilarious. I'm already in season 2 because they're so short.
Mm-hmm. Especially without the commercials. They're probably like, 20 minutes?
Ish.
Mm-hmm. We need to watch The Beautician and the Beast. That's Fran Drescher.
I love Fran so much. Yes, I had my nephew stay the night, and...
It might actually be Tom Selleck.
Is it really?
Let me look it up.
That'd be
the
amazing.
Resident Googler over here.
That'd be amazing.
The you Googler.
I told my nephew that I was going to be Fran for Halloween this year. And I have the long hair, and I can make it curly and poofy, and that's no big deal.
No, it's Timothy Dalton.
Timothy Dalton. I don't know who that is. Off the top of my head, at least.
Is he James Bond? Yep. He was James Bond back in the day.
Which one?
Very, very handsome. He's 78 now. Wow, I can't believe he's 78 now.
Was he like the first one? Second one?
I
don't remember the order of the Bonds. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, he was quite a looker.
Mm-hmm. Very handsome. Very just, has kind of a chiseled look about him.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we need to watch it. I'm in season 2 of The Nanny right now. And I told my sister, I was like, aren't you so proud of me? I'm watching an English show. Not a K-drama.
Yes. I'm watching The Rookie.
I have not seen The Rookie.
With Nathan Fillion.
Mm-mm.
Who, by the way, should have been cast in Uncharted as Nathan Drake. I don't know what they were doing putting Tom Holland in there, but that's a different hell to die on a different day. All right, back into your tea.
Back to my tea. Okay, so I kind of brought it up with Kim a little bit earlier. Didn't really get into it because I hadn't gotten very much information. And have you ever heard the name? I mean, probably not. I had never heard the name, but it's Min Hee-jin. Min Hee-jin. She apparently used to be a K-pop singer.
Okay.
But she is actually in a fight right now with Hybe.
Okay, yeah, you did mention this.
I mentioned it. So, I am using Hello Magazine as my reference here, my source. So Hybe is the company that owns Big Hit Entertainment. Another subsidiary of Hybe is called Adore. So
okay.
ADOR. Heejin is the CEO of Adore.
Okay.
And so she used to work for SM Entertainment, and she was the former creative director. And so those SM Entertainment is behind bands like EXO, Red Velvet, Girls' Generation, and so she's NCT. So she's been in this world for a very long time, right? She left SM Entertainment to go work with Hybe and to be the CEO of Adore. And so she apparently was told that she was going to be able to model a girls group how she wanted to. Okay, so she joined Hybe in 2019 as the chief branding officer, and then was named the CEO in 2022.
Okay.
For Adore.
Of Adore. Okay.
And she unveiled the girl group New Jeans.
Oh, I'm super shy.
Yeah.
Super shy. And they did...
I know what you like, boy. For Hype Boy.
They did the worlds for League of Legends.
Yes.
Which you are familiar with now. You're welcome.
Knew who they are. So the whole controversy between these two, she earned 18% stake in Adore last year.
Wow.
And then when Hybe moved from full ownership to the label to an 80% stake. So it's like she's like trying to take over.
She moved to an 80%.
80 from 18%. And then when Hybe moved from full ownership of the label to an 80% stake, so 80.
Wow.
That's quite large.
That's owning the company.
Basic. And so Hybe has launched an audit into the company because they're like, they are alleging that Min and one other executive have been trying to take full control of Adore, which is under Hybe, and they're doing it through unlawful ways. I'm sorry, from an 18 to 80% jump, that is, what kind of sketchy nonsense are you doing too? Mm-hmm. She has released a statement, because she actually had a press conference, and she did one by herself, and she was like crying, because that's the first thing I had seen about it, is that she was holding it by herself, and apparently was super chaotic. I have not watched it, I really want to now, but she released a statement that said, "How can I seize management rights with the 18% stake that I own? It is impossible for me to seize management rights of Adore because Hybe owns 80% of the shares. Without consent, it is impossible for Adore to be independent from Hybe. It is difficult to understand Hybe's claim." But Hybe is accusing her of leaking confidential information and as like trying to get her to resign as CEO. And she's accusing Hybe of exploiting Adore, copying New Jeans' concept for Hybe's newest act. I think it's supposed to be Elite.
Okay. A girl group?
I think so. Under another subsidiary that they have called B-Lift Lab. And she says that Hybe is blinded by short-term profits and mass-producing unoriginality. You are speaking to the company who has BTS, who paved a lot of roads for K-pop to be a global phenomenon. So, yeah, she had a 2-hour-long press conference in Seoul. Yeah, it's a whole lot of, like, she was trying to show, like, text messages between her and Bing Shi. Like, it's a whole lot of crazy. Hybe has released a statement as well. Because, okay, we've talked about Hybe recently with everything going on with
the
artists
slander.
And releasing of, songs and materials that BTS has done and how they will take people to court and there is no settlement.
Yeah.
And there is no mercy either. So Hybe's statement announced that the company will be reporting Min to the police for breach of trust and other allegations. So the quote is, "Hybe secured substantial evidence to prove that Min deliberately led the plan to take over management control of the subsidiary through the audit process. The evidence included detailed discussions that Min has ordered Adore management to find ways to pressure Hybe into ultimately selling Adore's shares. One of the audited parties submitted information assets to seize the management of Adore and to attempt to contact external investors. The auditee also admitted to creating the documents to attack Hybe." And so the Hybe is like, New Jeans is in the middle of a comeback.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't know what a comeback is in K-pop, it doesn't mean that they left or anything. It's every time they have a new album.
A new concept.
Or a new concept, it's a comeback. Mm-hmm. And so they're like, we will be providing mental and emotional care for the company's artists New Jeans and the best support for their upcoming comeback. So they're like...
Those are young girls, too.
Yeah.
They're all underage.
They're all children. So the fact that they're like, no, we need to still protect this little group, that's actually, I would give them a lot more. Yeah. But apparently there's like rumors, and again, I'm using this from a source, but this is all alleged, that she has something to do with like releasing things that weren't supposed to be released. Oh, if I read this correctly.
No. She's just double dipping here.
Because she's also associated with V's first solo album, Layover.
Oh.
So like, there's just a lot of really, really sad. Okay, the Unexpected Audit has launched a series of events, including allegations of plagiarism, shaman curses on BTS, and a tearful press conference, and so much more.
What the freak?
So...
Okay.
There's a lot going on there. Like, this has all been, like, within the last week.
Wow.
That, like,
this is fresh.
This stuff is coming out.
Won't
that there's...
be when you hear it, but...
Yeah, not when you all hear it, but our recording...
That's intense, dude.
Whew. That is all I have for Ashley's tea. We don't know how much is real, so there's a lot of alleged that I'm going to throw out there. Again, like the last couple... What is it? Last episode or a couple episodes ago?
Episode 6.
Episode 6.
Yeah.
A lot of alleged.
Allegedly.
Alleged. And again, I was reading that off of directly off the site. Yeah, that was from... Oh, come on, computer.
So go after them.
Yeah, go after them. Go after Hello Magazine.
HelloMagazine.com.
How about some unhinged theories? Do we have any of those today?
I do. I don't know if I should wait until later or if I should do it now. Okay, I'll just do it now because I had this theory before I watched 9 and 10.
Okay.
Well, before I watched 10. I think that... No, we need to do this at the end.
Okay.
Because some things happen in this episode that back up that theory. So.
Okay.
Recap. This is going to be the abbreviated version because I'm tired of rambling for 8 minutes for my recaps. Alright.
You're good.
EunTak remains positive and is encouraged that she is the Goblin's bride after all. DeokHwa and Reaper do some major cover-up regarding this whole incident with the truck and the parking lot full of cars and the wee-oos, and anyway. EunTak is so convinced that Goblin's first love is from another lifetime and just kind of sits and stews in the petty about it, unable to really think about the implications of her being the Goblin's bride. DeokHwa throws Reaper under the bus when he tells Goblin that Reaper has an inexplicable interest in the image of the Queen in Goblin's room, and we find out that the Queen is actually Goblin's sister. So Reaper learns at work that a colleague of his discovered his wife from a past life while on duty, labeled her as an MO, a miscellaneously omitted, and before running away with her. And this really piques Reaper's interest, and he kind of wonders if they ever recovered their memories from past lives after they found one another. Goblin has a vision of a massive bus accident. The vision does not include EunTak, but the crash, but he is confused by the fact that she was riding on the bus that he saw crash. So he interferes with the crash by intercepting the bicyclist that actually starts this whole domino effect of the wreck. And a dozen or so Reapers are kind of sent into a frenzy about this, including our own beloved Grim Reaper, who kind of ousts EunTak as someone who is able to see Reapers, because they wave to each other. And we learn that Sunny's real name is Kim Sun, and as Goblin writes this name on a piece of parchment, as well as another name, it kind of sends these sharp, stabby pains through Reaper's chest, mid-conversation with Sunny.
We see EunTak walking down the street, looking for Goblin because she doesn't know where he has gone. And we hear Goblin say, "You who are my life as well as my death, I love you. Therefore, I'm keeping a secret and asking a higher power for its permission, so that you won't know even for just one more day, so that you won't know for 100 years. And he gets trapped, basically, in the bookstore by the woman in red. And she tells him that their fates are intertwined for one to live and one to die. And he needs to hurry up and die already.
Or choose.
Basically. Yeah, or choose. And if he does not, she's going to continue to face death. And it's going going to be worse and worse every time. And EunTak talks to Reaper, and she's like, I need to know what's going on. I need to know what's going to happen for when I, pull out the sword, because she still has not been told anything properly. So EunTak is talking to Reaper and asking what's going to happen when the sword gets pulled out. And she just continues to ask him, so you're saying that he's wanting to die. If I pull out the sword, he's going to die. Like, he's going to disappear. And he doesn't actually ever say anything to her. He just looks at her very sadly. And, Goblin and the woman in red are having that conversation at the same time. And Goblin ends with, after living like that for hundreds of years, on that day, a day that was just right, it was first love. To be able to confess that, I'm seeking permission from the heavens. All right, episode 9. So we start where we left off, except that now Reaper is talking to EunTak and telling her, the moment you pull out that sword, he will scatter like dust. In this world or to another world somewhere else. But this isn't your fault. And if you think that we are accomplices or on the same side, then I feel wronged. The one who did not tell you was Kim Shin. And,
he's like, I'm on your side.
Yeah, I wanted you to know. I've been telling him to tell you for quite some time. And she packs her bags and decides that she's going to leave. And she says, this place, too, was not my home either. In this lifetime, I must not have a home. Let's go, Mr. Buckwheat. Let's just leave.
It's really sad.
That's horrible.
Heartbreak.
So the woman in red is walking out of the bookstore, and DeokHwa passes at that same moment. They look at each other, kind of take a few steps, turn, look back at each other, and she goes, you want a drink? And he goes, yeah, if you're buying, because I have no money.
Well, they knew each other from the last time they got a drink. So there was, this familiarity, because they were speaking casually, I think, if I remember.
I think so. Which is why she could just be like, hey, I'm in a bad mood.
Yeah.
Come drink with me. I don't want to do this alone. And in the bookstore, Goblin is now thinking back to when he's realized that EunTak is his first love. And that's when he's asking for permission, is so that he can tell her basically everything, but also there's things that he doesn't want to tell her still, obviously. And at the same time, EunTak is walking and to leave, and she's thinking back to when she was about to pull out that sword and asked him what his last words were. And that's when she realized that he was telling her goodbye, and then it begins to rain. So they're both clearly. And I believe in it, Reaper Evans was like, that day, miscellaneously omitted, walked for a long time in someone else's tears. So that Goblin's death would be as far as possible from her. And then
she has a sign on her doors too that says "Dokebi Shimu Bujejung," which means the Goblin's bride is absent or is gone.
Ugh.
Like she wrote that on the chalkboard outside, where it said someone is studying.
Right.
Yeah, keep out or whatever. Yeah.
Well, and that's because Goblin goes into her room and he comes out and he's starting to panic because she's not answering her phone. Things are gone, and he's like, her jade heated pad is gone, so is Mr. Buckwheat, and Reaper's trying to stop him to be like, hey, I talked to her, I know why she left, and he runs out the door, and Reaper's just going, who's Mr. Buckwheat? Who's that supposed to be?
Who that guy? And where'd he take my wife?
Right? And we see Goblin going in and out of his door, and he's trying to go to all the places that, mean something to the two of them, where they first met, at the ocean, anywhere that, she could be. He asked the ghosties. They don't have an answer for him because they didn't see her leave. The chicken shop, nothing. And, no, actually, to get to the chicken shop, he goes to Reaper and is like, where's that place that you always go? I need to know where it's at. And Reaper gives him a coupon, and as he leaves, he's like, please don't use that coupon, though.
Well, that's where he finds out, though, that Reaper had told EunTak everything, the truth about what was happening.
Right. And Reaper even tells him, he's like, I don't want you to die, but I also don't want anything to happen to her. But also,
everybody has the right to make a completely informed decision here.
Right.
Stop lying to her.
Goblin shows up at the chicken shop, and that's where he sees the sign has been put back up, looking for a part-time worker. Mm-hmm. He turns to walk away, and Sunny is walking up to the shop, and they pass each other, and he, because he can see their fortune, and he just sees Sunny saying, "Don't contact me from now on. Don't greet me even if we meet. Happy New Year." And we see that Sunny is talking to Reaper, and Reaper's trying not to cry. Goblin and Sunny, are quite a ways from each other. Yeah. Turn and look at each other, and she just goes, "Ora Bunny, are you staring at my store? Do you need a part-time job?" And he goes, "No, I'm looking for the part-time worker." But I like that she called him Ora Bunny.
Ora Bunny.
Ora Bunny. I like that better than Opa, I think. It just sounds cooler.
Well, she comments on the fact that he's wearing a $25,000 outfit. She's like, "You don't need a part-time job. You must be the guy who broke her heart and sent her away."
You are the
screw
worst.
You, dude.
You're the jerk who made her life hell.
And she's like, "What happened? Were you married?" And he goes, "Well, I have a bride, but I'm not married, so you're not really that far off."
Mm-hmm.
What a weird thing to say
that
to a stranger. I don't know. But Goblin's just kind of beside himself. He's kind of at a loss. He finally asks Reaper, kind of as a last-ditch effort, to file the paperwork on EunTak as a miscellaneously omitted, with the idea that if they can track where she's going to end up dying, essentially, because death is following her right now, one of them can show up to help her. But if she's missing, there's no hope for that. So at first, Reaper is kind of just like, "What the heck, man? You're saying you're in love with this girl and you're just gonna write her off to go die."
Right.
But then Goblin explains himself. But since the Ajima deity basically has told Goblin that her life will constantly be in danger, he knows it's only a matter of time before she ends up as a soul to reap. So Reaper does. He turns it into a colleague, and he says that he needs it immediately, not tomorrow, but now. And so the colleague recognizes EunTak's name as the one that Reaper had called out at the bus stop on the day that the crash didn't happen. And Reaper tells his friend that, this is the Goblin's bride. So Goblin runs into EunTak's classmate outside of her old house as he's still trying to, hunt her down. And we learn she's passed her exams with flying colors. But just to go back to that classmate, it's really sweet of her to just
look out for her.
Treat her as a normal person. Mm-hmm. I don't know that she's really giving her special treatment, because like she said, she's the class president. It's probably her job to do these sort of errands for people that aren't around. But
well, she even makes the comment of she hasn't been coming to school, so I
don't know what's happened to her. I don't know
where to go with this.
Well, and she's not going out of her way, though, to make her life miserable either. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? She's just a normal human, which is more than she's received
for most of her life.
But the news starts to report on this mysterious thick fog that is covering the tops of buildings, as well as a red supermoon, which around here we would call a blood moon. But we see Goblin is standing on top of the building, probably the similar one or the same one that he was standing on top of the night that he found EunTak's mother. And he's just looking out over the city. He's kind of pondering what's become of EunTak, as well as what the Ajima deity has told him about, he has to die in order for EunTak to live. So he kind of starts to get into this mood, and he starts to mess with the order of things, which we see happening when Reaper has arrived to take a soul from a hospital room where they've just pronounced the father dead. I mean, there's blood everywhere. This guy is gone. And as he's getting ready to read the card to take the soul, it just catches flame spontaneously, and this guy just sits up.
Yikes!
He did not quite know what to do with that information.
No. Well, I love that he goes to Reaper and he's like, "A name card caught on fire. Is that possible? Can that even happen?" And he goes, "Yeah, if it's the Goblin's fire." And then hands him this big old trash bag of socks that Goblin had given to him as an apology.
Yeah, for what he was doing.
For the poor guy.
Because he was trying to get the attention of
the deity.
The deity or EunTak, one or the other.
both.
He said he didn't care which. He just needed one of them to hear him.
Pay attention.
Yeah.
I believe we're at the tea shop, but Reaper going to Goblin and asking if he thinks apologizing in advance is enough. And, like, you can't be messing with the order of things. And so because that is affecting his job now. And so Reaper's just
Oh, they're not at the tea shop. They're at Goblin's house in the hallway. By the laundry room.
Yes, because he's like, you can't do that. Like, has living forever made you go blind? The tragic fate of you two is unfortunate, but that doesn't mean you get to meddle with a human's life. You senseless goblin.
Well, even his job, too. Because
but it's not just
that
him.
he has to do a lot of paperwork when this stuff happens.
Right, it's not just him. It's every other Reaper that he's now messing with. And he's like, dude.
Stop tantruming.
Quit.
And go talk
Get it
to
together. But yes, then Sunyu, he's reading the newspaper and he's talking to Secretary Kim. And he's like, there are a lot of weird beings in the world, and they're closer than we think. And Secretary Kim flashes back to talking to Yu Jae-shin about his job, and then seeing that same man with DeokHwa. And then goes, yeah, I know of one. The passport that I made, places that I've prepared, making me stay by DeokHwa's side. I'm pretty sure you've been preparing me to see this on my own. And he's like, well, have you told anybody about it? And Secretary Kim's like, no, we're good. And that's when we learned that Goblin actually had chosen Secretary Kim, a boy from the alleyway, basically, who had no dream, made him take the GED, get into school, and, like, help him create a life for himself. And he's like, who did you think that faceless benefactor was? And he's like, don't forget this name, Kim, as his last name, the Chinese character Shin, which means trustworthy, as his name. And the secretary's just kind of like, well, okay then. That is a lot.
We didn't actually see him as a child, though. Okay, I didn't think we had, but I just wanted to make sure I wasn't forgetting something.
No, that would have been really cool, though.
Yeah, because I think I was mixing him up with the man who was able to go to heaven.
Oh, yeah, the kid from Paris. Well, then DeokHwa, again, playing that same role, gets in his uncle's face. He's like, this is all you, right? Like, you're the one causing all of these phenomenons. He's like, why are you creating such a mess to find a high school girl? I'm really scared that NASA's going to take you away now. Like, you've got to get it together. Like...
Really, though, why haven't they...
Right?
They see in this house this little, like, pressure system is causing problems.
But he then asks Goblin, he's like, if I find her, will you give me a credit card? And he's like, I don't...
Priorities.
Right. He's like, if I can't, how can you? And DeokHwa's like, well, she has no money, so she can only take a bus. And just, trust me, I have my ways. Like, I know what I'm doing. But then we see a white butterfly flying over a ski resort. And this is where EunTak is now working. She's behind, like, the rental counter, running back and forth. And she's very diligent. I mean, we saw that at the chicken shop with school. Like, she's a very diligent worker. And she takes a quick break and, pulls out her phone, does some doom scrolling, and just, like, starts to sigh because she's like,
He's having a bad day.
Oh, and there's fog. And, oh, hey, look, the moon is now a different color. And great. And after work, she, is taking a walk and just thinking about what she had had asked Goblin about when she told him, what if I decide to not be your bride and pull out the sword, and him telling her, well, I won't become pretty. Well, right around this time, right before it, DeokHwa goes up to his uncle and he's like, I found her. She's at a ski resort. Go get her now. And she's looking around. She decides there's too much snow. Agree. There's always too much snow. And she turns around and sees that Goblin is...
Well, first, before she even does that, it's a clear night, and then it starts to fog over.
It does start to fog over,
that?
yeah. But she turns and she sees that Goblin is standing behind her, and she's just kind of like, I hate you.
I'm gonna pretend to not be happy to see you because I'm pissed.
Oh, I'm so pissed.
That he invites her to come home, and she just refuses, saying she has no home. Not anymore. And people have only kept her close to her life, some because of insurance money and others because they wanted to die. It's like, oh, that's awful.
Ouch.
But he defends himself saying that he just couldn't find the right time, and at that point he just missed the opportunity. The timing would never be right. He didn't want the timing to be right because he didn't want to have this conversation. He didn't want to admit that the legacy of the sword in his chest was death, essentially. He really only wished just to fall into oblivion, and she says that even if he dies, or even if she dies, she won't do it, and they ought to live as if they don't know each other anymore. And she calls him Mr. Shin. She says that if he appears before her again, she will really kill him. Which at that point I was like, isn't that what he kind of wants?
Right.
But I get what the intention was. Like, you're dead to me, basically.
I have that they are stuck in a cesspool of emotion.
A little bit, yeah.
I didn't know if that was dramatic enough.
Yeah, seriously, though. A teenager and an angsty 900-year-old goblin, yeah.
Goodness sakes.
But Goblin is now filling his days just kind of lurking.
That's the best way to put it.
He's lurking around the ski shop, just watching her, following her on her daily walks. She just pretends he isn't there. But on one particular day, I mean, she's been doing that her whole life with ghosts. She can do it with
you're no big deal, boy.
But on one particular day, she stops in the forest, and she decides to turn around to look at him. But he's not there. And she turns back around, kind of disappointed, but he's in front of her now. And he presents her with her exam results and tells her she did well. She goes, "You call this an excuse?" He goes, "I was happy to have even this as an excuse." So she asks what he's going to do with this excuse. Live together or die together. And she tells him to come closer so she can pull the sword out and kill him. But he just kind of pulls her hand to his chest, and he just tells her, "You need to do this. You need to take the sword
please
out.
do it."
Yeah. Stop putting it off. She doesn't know what the implications are, but he's like, "I'm trying to save your life, woman."
Again, he's hiding things from her.
You think he'd learn. Communication
She
is
left
key.
you once, homeboy.
But she starts to cry and pull away, and she starts to hit him. And she goes, "It was from that moment in the hotel when you appeared. It was from that moment." And she's referring to the moment where he just very coldly says, "I love you."
Right.
And she goes, "So did you really love me?" "No, you didn't even do that." And he replies, "I'm scared. I'm so scared. So I wish you would keep telling me that you need me. A permission, like an excuse. I wish for that. I wish I could continue to live with you." And he doesn't want to die while she keeps on living, but he especially doesn't want her to die while he continues to live. So it's his rock hard place. He's just stuck. And she doesn't get this inner turmoil that he is wrestling with because he won't tell her what it is.
And she would choose his life over hers, just as he is choosing her life.
Which is why he's not telling her.
Exactly.
The holder of information is the one that...
With the power.
Yeah, exactly.
So she, at her little apartment that she's staying in, kind of just looking out the window, thinking about everything, and he is watching her window outside. Still lurking. And he ends up going, back home. And she goes, back to work. She's handing a snowboard off to a coworker, saying it needs something done. And
Edge waxing, thank you.
That current coworker tells her that the next coworker coming in is going to be just a little bit late. But he is coming. And so she...
Which is a lie.
Always. 90% of the time. So she, sits down, and as she's sitting down, she's kind of just... I don't know if she's just doom scrolling again. Just kind of chilling. But snow begins to fall from the outside.
I thought it came off a snowboard.
And no, it falls down onto the snowboard. And it's heavy snow. And it causes that snowboard to fall, which then creates the domino effect, which knocks all of these shelves over and lands on EunTak. And effectively knocks her out. And Goblin being back home, he's in his chair, he's kind of pouting, but I think also super relieved because now he knows where she is at. And Reaper walks in and he's like, "Did you find her? Did you meet her?" And he goes, "Yeah, I met her." And Reaper's like, "Well, why isn't she here yet? And has anything happened?" Because her document has now been released. And he pulls out the card and he sees the writing, but when he hands it to Goblin, Goblin doesn't see anything. And he's like, "Are you sure?" And Reaper's like, I promise you, that is her card. Something's going to happen.
It's happening now.
Like, you need to get there because within an hour, she will die. And he even tells Goblin that EunTak must be being pushed towards her death. And he's like, I'm not the one doing it, and I know you aren't either. And Goblin tells him that the fate between them means that one of them has to die. This is the first person that he has told this is what's going to happen now. And he goes, this is my punishment, and it must be God's true will. And Reaper tells him that even if it was God's will, it isn't his and it's not Goblin's. You have an hour. Like, you need to go.
Yeah. Do something about it.
Yeah. You say you don't want this. Well,
shoo, go.
Get off your tuckus. So Goblin begins to look for EunTak. He's at her apartment. He's calling her. He goes to all these different places.
It's a big resort.
Yeah, that is a huge resort. I don't know the last time you went to a ski resort. Never? There are multiple ski lifts to go to different types of slopes.
Different levels of slope.
Right. You have your bunny slopes, which are for your beginners, your little kids who, don't know how, adults who don't know how. Then you have your green, your blue, and then you have your blacks. And then you have different, so a black, like, double diamond is really hard. There's a lot. I have done a black double diamond a couple times. I did not enjoy it.
Because you have to think too hard. It's like riding a motorcycle on the interstate. You're not enjoying it because you're too busy thinking you're about to get smacked by something.
Correct. I also just hate skiing because for me it's a very physically painful experience, and I don't enjoy being in pain for 2 weeks later.
Because of the tired muscles or what?
Because I have the worst knees. Thanks, Mom. I have to wear knee braces while skiing, and I don't fall often because I don't go if I can help it. Anyway, yes, resorts are huge. So he's, looking on all these different slopes, and we hear the woman in red's prophecy, basically, of, like, death is going to haunt this child. Yeah. And it's going to get worse. And at the same time, we see EunTak lying on the ground. She's going into shock, basically. She's hypothermic, and she's having memories of all of her time with Goblin go through, and he, him saying, I just wish that you would tell me that you need me. And so she does. She says, I need you. And then we see...
Well, she says, I need you. That's all I ask of you. I love you. And then, boom, the lights.
And then the blue flame lifts up the door.
Yes.
And he rushes to her, covers him,
Theme
leaves his
music.
coat. Yes. And she wakes up in a hospital bed. And
with an audience.
That would terrify me.
I would get combative.
Absolutely. I start throwing things. There's this group of doctors just staring, and they're like...
At least a dozen.
At least. And they're like, you're okay. You were, you had hypothermia. You had a concussion. If you'd come just a little bit later, it would have been very dangerous. And she's like, okay.
Details. I need details.
How long have I been here? And they're like, a day and a half. And her next question is, how much does that cost? Honey, that is, especially with it being a private room and you have at least a dozen doctors.
If you're paying for each of these doctors' time,
right.
that alone is like a year's worth, at least in America.
At least.
We don't need to go there.
But they tell her not to worry about it. And what is your relationship with the CEO of the Chunwoo group? Like, because the chairman himself came to admit you, and it threw the entire hospital in an uproar. Like,
yeah.
How do you know him? And her only response is, does anybody have a match or a lighter?
It's such an unhinged response to that question. They're all looking at each other like, did she get concussed? Like, is she good? Do we need to keep her longer? Like, someone order a psychological eval on this girl. But she actually starts, she's riding on a Skytram. This gave me vertigo. Did it? Just watching it? Yeah. Oy. So last summer we went to visit Salt Lake, and we did a ski slope. Okay. Like, just in the summer, you can just ride it to go sightseeing. Oh yeah. And I was on the verge of tears the whole time. I do not do heights. Your thing is spiders. My thing is heights. Okay. Fair. Do not. And I mean, you are looking straight down a mountain. Where if you tumble, I mean, you're just gonna keep tumbling. And I had was only like 6 months old at the time, and we took he was 2.5. And I'm just thinking, they're gonna fall. They're gonna die.
You were spiraling.
It was bad. But luckily, I had like the clip-on wear your baby thing. If it had been just the fabric one, I probably would have been a little more nervous. But the ones with the clips feel a little more secure when you're dangling 50 feet over the ground.
Was it actually like an actual ski lift where you sit in it?
Yeah.
Never watched the movie Frozen. There's a movie called Frozen. I think it came out in like 2010.
La 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 la.
And yeah, you would not.
We would have baked alive though. It was like July when we went. It was hot.
I'm not gonna go where my brain went.
Yeah.
Kesha, hot and dangerous. That's where my
don't
brain
know
went.
that song because I'm so sheltered.
You don't wake
No.
up in the morning feeling like P. Diddy.
Oh, yeah,
Drop
yeah,
my
yeah.
glasses.
I know that part.
Yeah, because I'm hot and dangerous. If you're one of us, then vote with us. Because we make the hipsters fall in love. Oh, yeah, I have it. So it's like in that same album.
Oh, okay.
Back to the Skytram.
Sorry.
No,
I bunny trailed us.
it's okay. So she's riding on a Skytram at the resort. And she gets to the very top. And she's almost to like where you can get off of. Because it's like a fancy one. Like, I know you haven't watched it yet. Boys Over Flowers. There's a whole scene. Anyway.
I don't think I'm ever going to
That's
at this rate.
fair. That's fair. But she takes out a match, lights it, blows it out, and then is looking and is like, where are you at? Because he doesn't show up. Goblin's not there. And she's almost like confused on top of being massively, devastated.
Starts to cry a little bit.
Yeah, because she's just like, where are you? This is what you come to. This is how I call you. And she gets up to the dock and she's about to disembark and she smiles because she sees him standing there. And the door's open and he's holding out his hand. And she gets off without holding his hand and starts to hit him and she's crying. And she's like, you should have told me you were leaving. I thought you weren't coming back. And he just kind of does this cute little like head tilt of like, where are you going with this statement? Like, I'm right here. And she goes, who told you to, because he's like, you know, I came early because I wanted to wait for you. And she's like, well, why would you do that? Who said to do that? When I blow out the candle, you're supposed to show up. And then he just was like, I was coming to hold your hand. She's like, I don't know. Whatever. And just walks out the door. Same. You did not follow through on your promise. I'm just going to walk. But then we get our typical K-drama behind hug.
On a mountaintop.
On a mountaintop.
I put, she smacks him around, tells him she's upset, and then they have themselves a little mountaintop cuddle. I told you I went for abbreviated.
Yeah, you did.
There was one thing you were explaining earlier that took you probably 2 or 3 paragraphs worth, and I had 2 sentences on it.
I like the detail.
I did too, but
we have different versions of detail.
We really do.
That's what makes it kind of fun.
Mine's in the Googling.
True. But he tells her, me too, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Hashtag me too.
Hashtag me too. Nope. And he's like, okay, well, fine. If you don't know it, never mind. She goes, but I do know it. And, you know, they're having a conversation without actually
Talking,
which is obnoxious. But then she turns around and tells him, I have something to confess. Like, I can't see anything about you. I can see, you know, that you're tall, your clothes look expensive, you have amazing eyes, but that's all I see. Like, I won't pull out that sword for you no matter what you say. I will not do it because to me you're already pretty. And he just, after, you know, all this, just kind of looks at her and pats her head because he knows how to do that properly now and it's not that awkward.
I feel like this was her attempt to just, like, take the pressure off and they just be normal. Like, just be a normal couple for a second.
Because that's never happened in the entirety of them knowing each other.
Yeah, and pretend like this isn't happening and they just, like, connect as people. Because obviously they know the reality of the situation now. Maybe not the whole thing, but she knows what the sword means.
Right.
So
what's going to happen.
It just felt like she was trying to forget. I guess I don't know.
Let me have a minute.
But Sunny, she is visiting the shaman again.
Mm-hmm.
And describes Reaper to her. You know, he's tall, wears all black, has a hat. And the shaman, she shakes her bells and then throws them on the table and asks if they exchange names since he's the Grim Reaper. And Sunny basically just kind of writes her off, scolds her for not being realistic about her interpretations since she's trying so hard to land a man here. Like, I can't be that picky. Come on. But, she then, as she's getting up to leave, she describes a tall man with a voice that makes you feel as if you're at the smallest cafe in the world. And the shaman hesitantly says, Kong Yu? Which, if you don't know, is the name of the actor who plays Kim Shin, or
Kim Shin.
Goblin.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have something to add?
Well, so yeah, the rest of that was he's the main actor of a show called Coffee Prince, which is why
That's
there's
right.
the word cafe in her.
Yes, that's right. But the shaman asks if Sunny has received any sparkling items lately, and Sunny sits back down. She warns Sunny that you have to be careful as you don't know what's inside. There might be the owner's regret, guilt, longing, etc. And Sunny is back at the chicken shop, and she's holding the ring, kind of wondering, you know, all right, keep your secrets.
Right, yeah.
But she's kind of pondering what might be going on with this ring, if there's anything, just given the weird circumstances. But Reaper is watching her from across the street. And he teleports in, wearing his hat, so she doesn't know what's happening. And she's criticizing him, again, out loud, saying, you know, why is this guy not calling? I swear all I do is wait by the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And he bows and goes, just just apologizes to her. So she's just like, you know what, I'm going to call him. And he panics, and he's like, I can't let this happen again. What happened on the bridge? He's trying to unlock his phone. It's not going. It locks him out after you do so many attempts.
Right.
And so at that point, I'm like, why don't you just phase out of the room?
Because he doesn't understand any type of interaction.
Anyway, but he is listening to her call him or like try to form a text.
Yep.
And so he's apologizing to her for having a crush on someone else, referencing this image of the queen that he found. And when his phone goes off, it gives Sunny the chills again. She's just like, what's going on?
Well, and
she thinks
right
she's
before that, he
losing
also
her mind.
apologizes for erasing her memory.
Oh, right. Yep.
Because they did go on a date, and he erased it, and so she has no idea. Oh, yeah, I actually just saw him
I don't know why
not that long before.
couldn't just tell her not to remember him looking like a weirdo. Anyway, doesn't matter. Plot holes.
Plot holes.
So this poor girl thinks she's losing her mind, and she just stops and glory, glory, hallelujah,
So cute.
glory, glory. And then she goes, I know you're here. Come out. How dare a lowly ghost do this? And then she just starts louder, glory, glory, hallelujah.
So cute.
And Reaper just laughs, and he's just
enamored.
love in his eyes for this woman.
He's enamored by this interaction. He's like, you have no idea that I am, like, fangirling over how adorable you are right now.
Yes. It's very sweet.
So cute.
Which is how you know they're gonna ruin it for you. Anyway.
So Goblin is outside of EunTak's place by the resort, and she walks out, and he asks her, you know, where's your stuff? Like, aren't we going home? She's like, no, I'm going to work. And he's like, well, how long are you going to be here? And she goes, probably till February, because that's when all the snow melts. And he's like, nope. And he calls Shinu, and he's like, I need you to use your fast connections and get someone fired immediately. Or I'm going to melt all the snow.
Yeah.
You pick. Like, there is... It's 0 to 100 with this man. There is no middle
when you have
ground.
unlimited resources,
Right.
not?
I mean, you could make it all snow again the next day.
There you go.
So Goblin walks in the door of his own home, and EunTak is in tow. And she says hi to Reaper and then apologizes for making him worry. And he goes, well, you know, I was a little worried, but it was really this one over here who was, like,
Psycho.
losing his mind. DeokHwa found you, and Goblin's just like, yep, and I'm the one that brought you back. And she's like, okay, cool. And Goblin starts to take off his coat, and Reaper's like, nah, you and I need to go have a talk. And EunTak gets very defensive, and it's like, were you taking my Goblin? Mm-hmm. And I've been waiting for this scene so I can send it to you on Instagram, because it's Goblin just like, in his mind is just like, she said mine. And I love Reaper out loud, just like, I can hear everything, you cheesy Goblin. And it's just,
I love how Goblin just holds his finger up and he's just like, no need to.
We don't need to talk about it. So they leave, and Reaper just basically spills it. And it's like, yeah, he got all happy because you said my. And she's like,
in shock.
Okay.
Feeling a little awkward.
Like, I'm gonna go to my room now. So Goblin and Reaper are at the tea shop, and Reaper's doing paperwork. And is basically told Goblin, you are going to help me with this paperwork because, yes, I gave you the information, but now you're going to help me fix this.
Because this is a freaking dumpster fire because, again, she's not dead.
Right. And he's like, wouldn't it be noticeable, like, with the handwriting? He goes, yeah, I'll tell him I wrote it with my left hand. Now let's go. And Goblin then decides to provoke him a little bit, and he's like, yeah, I saw the owner of that chicken shop that you go to all the time. She's really pretty. And Reaper starts to panic of like, what did you say? What did you do? Did you tell her useless information? And he was like, well, not anything any less useless than what you told EunTak, basically. And he's like,
you told her I'm a Reaper.
As they are kind of poking each other a little bit, a man just walks into the tea shop, and he is in his own type of panic. And both Reaper and Goblin are just like, Otoke, what is happening? And he's like, I'm so sorry, like, do you have a toilet? Like, I really need to go. And they're just like, uh-huh. And Goblin makes a comment that there is no door that human desperation cannot open.
This is the power of a human being to change their own destiny. And then I put, obviously, this is coming back in some important way, because we know that there is a lot of desperation happening within one EunTak currently, and we've seen that she has her own magical properties, so clearly this comes full circle.
In some form.
In some form.
Well, poor Reaper's like, well, crap, I have to write another report about this. And Goblin's like, on that note, I'm going to go. And he goes, nope, sit down, this is also your fault. You're writing that one.
So Sunny is interviewing for the job, also looking a bit desperate herself. Mm-hmm. And the last applicant walks in with the sign in hand, introduces herself as EunTak, and Sunny begins to tear up. And EunTak also gets emotional as she cheerfully offers her services. But Sunny has purchased a bigger, nicer chicken shop somehow with the money she wasn't making. She asks how EunTak found her, and we see two of her ghosty friends just like holding each other over in the corner, just super warm-hearted. And EunTak says she has her own means, and Sunny comments that even the ghosts would be surprised. And the ghosts just kind of look a bit called out right there. Like,
oh!
Does she know about us? What? But EunTak catches some older boys bullying a younger boy in the back alley as she's taking out the garbage. And she scares them off and just kind of pats his head, like she taught Reaper, or Goblin how to do. And he had told him, I'm gonna shoot a wind blast at you, and they laughed at him. But she says, someday you'll be able to shoot a real wind blast. And the kid doesn't say anything, he just kind of walks away. And I was like, oh. When you have your own kid, that's like your worst fear, is thinking that they might get bullied someday.
Or they will be the bully.
Yeah, that's not my worst fear.
I mean, not your worst fear, but that's a...
Yeah. That's a...
It is a fear.
I'm gonna thump you between the eyeballs if you don't knock it off kind of thing. But I could handle that better than
your child
my
being
kid getting bullied.
Oh, yeah.
But
definitely. EunTak is back home now, and she's pacing, and she's kind of freaking out because she's wondering if the results for acceptance into universities has come out yet. And so she gets on her computer and sees that she has been accepted to EunTak University. And then, of course, her next question.
How much?
I need to see how much this is going to cost me. In Goblin's room, he has got her bag out and the perfume, and he's like spraying it all over. He's like spraying himself in her perfume, puts it in the bag, and then...
Trying to create a core memory.
Right. And EunTak is standing outside his door and playing back in her head the phone conversation that she had just had saying that, no, there's no error. Your tuition has been paid in full. And I was told to, tell you if you ever asked who it was paid for by Kim Shin. And she's just like, of course it was. And so she walks in, and Goblin, tries to get in his normal position of having a book and being all slick with it, but he's not always so.
His go-to pose.
Right. And she's like, I heard that you paid for my tuition. And he was like, I told them to keep that a secret. And she goes, yeah, well, I was told that you were like, no, you need to tell her who it is.
Explicitly clear about.
And so he grabs the purse and says, I was told this, or I thought this might be a good, acceptance gift. And she's like, yeah.
Deflect.
You are correct. This is a great acceptance gift. And so she's like, okay, purse, perfume, and $5,000, and there's no money in there. And he's like, yeah, well, I used that to pay for your tuition.
Just like, what tuition are you paying? That's only $5,000.
Right. Well, and she's like, well, you gave it to me before, and why are you now lending it? Because he said, this is just a loan.
Pay me back.
And, he's like, well, I want you to pay me back $5.20 a month over 80 years, and you can't pay it back any sooner. And she's like, okay, fine. Then I've set my mind that we're going on a date. And they do. They go and get ice cream. And she tells him that he's a dummy because if he had brought the purse, she would have happily followed him home rather than the report card. Same. I want the fancy purse.
Which we have Reaper to thank.
He's like, yeah. Goblin goes, yeah, I was going to bring the purse. And she goes, then let me guess. Reaper told you not to. And he goes, yeah. And she's like, almost like, please stop listening to him when it comes to this type of advice. But then she asks him if love could be found amongst the gifts that he has given her, and he tells her to look carefully because he did his best to put it there.
Oh.
And then my favorite part of the entire episode.
So Secretary Kim has presented Shinu with a list he has compiled of, quote, things that teenage girls like as gifts. Or college-age girls, anyway. First thing is 방탄소년단, which we know is
BTS.
Yes. And he goes, what do they do? And Secretary Kim dances a little bit of Boy in Love. When a mom don't and
then he just
Hakuna Matata.
pats his hair, makes sure it's all down.
And so Shinu's like, oh, so they shake up people's hearts. And Secretary Kim goes, they're shaking up people's hearts quite a bit these days.
He's not wrong. They're still doing it.
The next thing, EXO. Is that an alcoholic beverage? And so Secretary Kim dances to EXO's Growl, which I don't actually know that song.
I had to listen to it. It's really kind of fun.
Is it?
Yeah,
okay.
Like...
I'll have to listen to it. But unfortunately for us, Shinu chooses option 3, which is a digital camera. And
I wanted more of Secretary Kim dancing and singing. It was pretty great.
But DeokHwa was tasked with giving the camera to EunTak. But as she walks up behind him, taking, one more selfie, because he loves to take those, we've learned, she's like, okay, time to give me my gift now. Let's go. And he's just like, 5 more minutes. She goes, no, hand it over. 2 more minutes. And so this little chase kind of ensues.
This is a sibling moment. If there's ever been a sibling moment.
I love the sibling dynamic between these two. And I love that they're closer in age than the other two. I'm glad there's no weird tension here.
Oh, yeah. He's straight up the big brother.
Oh, yeah.
No. You can't have it.
I appreciate that. But Goblin is busy contemplating this man who had walked into Reaper's tea shop. And he says he started a search. A human's desperation can open any door. Maybe once in a while, one of those doors becomes a variable in a god's plan. I began to search for which door I need to open. He's telling this to Reaper. I don't know whether it'll take 10 months or 100 years, but I need to stay by that child's side. To which Reaper responds with, as long as it isn't my door. Goblin says, "Isn't poop a little petty to be in God's plan?" But DeokHwa interrupts this whole little banter by taking a photo of them. And EunTak rushes in to sit in between. She wants to take a photo with Goblin, and Reaper's just kind of there. She's like, "Go away, go away, go away." But he's like, "No, I'm staying here. I was here first." So they have this little montage of photo taking, and this is where we see the family dynamic between the four of them really kind of set in. Like, they've referenced themselves as a family, an awkward family, like with the cake and all of that. But this is where you really see that there's actually love between these people.
Well, and you even see, like, Reaper in the pictures where he's just like, and then he's like,
but he warms
I want to be part of this. This sounds fun.
It is fun. He's never had this
Or
before.
EunTak with her arms around both of them, and Goblin's like,
yes. yeah.
No.
But you just know, knowing this show, that this means they have to pop the bubble soon. Because it's way too happy. Way too happy.
Well, Reaper actually asks EunTak, another dating question, because
he's like, "I'll move if you answer this question."
I need to know. And so, because he's like, what do I need to do? How do I, get this to go in my favor? And so she starts to give him, like, a lot of advice of, like, there was one of them, I didn't write it down, but it was like, solve a math problem with a mechanical pencil. And
yeah, that's what it was. It was so weird.
Hey, if you can do that, good for you. That doesn't impress me.
Oddly specific.
But she's in high school.
This is true.
Of course, that's her.
Yeah.
But one of the things which, all men, you need to do this regardless. You walk on the outside towards the traffic, and you keep your woman on the inside. That is a protection thing. And so he is trying to do that on her walk, but because he cannot touch her, is awkwardly trying to dance around her to, like, get her to move in, and she is just like,
what are you doing?
What are you doing, buddy? Are you good? Like, okay.
No, he's not good.
He's not good.
Now that you ask.
It's like, okay, you said you wanted to tell me something. What do you want to tell me? And he's like, I have no religion. And she's like, okay, because he had erased her memory. They've had this conversation before, but she doesn't remember that. And she's like, okay. Because one of the other things EunTak had told him to do was, like, always smile at her. Like,
he has a good smile.
He does have a good smile.
Good looking guy.
And she's like, why are you smiling at me? Like, does my makeup look weird? Like, and he's like, rather, don't you think I'm cute? And she's just like, what? You didn't call me for Christmas. You don't have a religion, clearly, so you wouldn't have been at church. And he's like, yeah, it's because it's somebody's birthday, and I feel like that would be inappropriate. And he's still like, again, like, don't you think I'm cute? Like,
she comments that she's getting deja vu.
Yes. And she's like, I got chills. Like, what is happening? And he's like, oh no, she knows that I'm a Reaper. Like, this is good.
It's going down.
And at the same time, Goblin and EunTak are actually walking, and we find that he's actually walking her to work. And they stop, and they see that Reaper and Sunny are sitting inside across from each other. And EunTak kind of calls Goblin out of, like, you've never made a purchase here. And he's like, yeah, well, I could buy the whole shop. And she goes, yeah, but I know you're scared of chicken blood. And then it's like, oh, is that why you sent me here? Was it because you like to you don't like to be near it? And he's just like, well, that was back when, like, wasn't expecting thing, and I didn't think you were, basically. And she's like, you know what? Leave and don't look for me.
Actually, I looked up the lore around goblins in general. And they're actually supposed to be afraid of dog blood and horse blood.
Horse blood, yeah.
Because of the mat. He was like, is that horse blood?
Yeah, chicken blood, he says he just likes to keep a distance from it. He's not necessarily scared of chicken blood. She calls him a coward, though, and he's like, fine, I'll show you how brave I am. And then they go into the shop. And then we have all four of them.
It was painful.
It hurt so bad.
It's hard because
you love all of these characters in their own way.
This is the first time they've brought them all together.
Ever.
And you know that, like, Sunny is justified in her treatment of Goblin.
150%.
Because this is a child.
And he's been
And
awful.
he's a 40-year-old man. And she's just, like, trying to feel out this dynamic. And she's just sticking up for EunTak. Like, she's just being the Ani that she
needs to
asked her to be. Yeah, so Goblin needs to chill. Gotta take a step back here. Like, He was being petty.
Well, so yeah, Goblin and Sunny are, like, giving each other, like, the evil eye, and at the same time, so, like, they're, like, opposite, and then Reaper and EunTak are just like, how do we get this to stop?
I love though that they're just like on the same wavelength. Like from the beginning of the show where she's running for her life from him and he's trying to hunt her down to they're just like, this double date sucks. Get us out of here.
This is the worst. Well, they're not subtle. And they're not trying to be subtle.
They're getting their jabs in.
Sunny very loudly leans over. Isn't this the jerk who was giving you trouble?
Feels like something you would do for a friend.
100. Yeah. Have done it.
I'm sure.
To their face. I don't even, like, look away. I'm like, oh, so you're the da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and, like, I have no filter. It's kind of fun sometimes. But Goblin, in his same petty token, to Reaper, doesn't she know my voice? Her voice from the phone call? And Sunny's just like, I didn't realize you two are friends. And kind of like going back to when DeokHwa and Reaper showed up together. And she was like, you can tell by the company they keep, basically. And she's like, oh, good. So that's your friend? Like,
he's like, no, he's really not.
No.
They start to use Panma with each other. Casual speech.
Oh, yeah. Real quickly. Because she even calls him out on it. Like, how dare you? Who do you think you are? And so then EunTak's just like, can you guys please go? Like, we're about to be busy. It'd be best if you both leave. They don't. Because Reaper starts working on a math problem with a mechanical pencil.
He's so literal.
And
it's sweet.
Reaper actually asks Goblin, like, can you please leave? Like, you're making everything a lot worse here. And then Reaper looks up and he goes, you know, excuse me, Miss Kim-sun, 2 beers, please. And she stares at him, and Goblin stares at him like, what did you just say? What? And Sunny, you know, walks up to Reaper and is like, we need to go outside. Like, we need to have a private conversation.
And he's all like, yeah, let's go have a private conversation.
Poor Reaper. This is not a good conversation. Yeah, there's our bubble being popped. So Reaper, you know, was happily, like, grinning at her, and she goes, you know, what are you doing? You called me Kim-sun. And he realizes, I erased that memory when she told me what her name was. And he goes, no, I called you Kim-sunny? Like, no. You know what? It's cold. I'm going to get your coat. And he turns to go inside, and she grabs his hand.
While wearing the jade ring.
Finish us out, Kim.
Oh my gosh. So there's just a look.
Well, the best part is Kim watched this shortly after we recorded previous episodes.
The next day, yeah.
And just was like, what just happened?
Yes. So, Reaper just gets this look on his face, and it's like equal parts shock and pain and overwhelm at what he's experiencing. So we see the queen's death. There's other things happening too. There's a moment where we see the young king has gone through her things and demands to know where she's received this jade ring from, probably in a fit of jealousy. And we hear the words, maybe it started with you. That's what it seems like. And I think it might have been Goblin. Maybe was it Reaper?
It was Reaper when he was looking at the picture of her.
Okay, yes, okay. But we show the queen riding in a palanquin, right? Palanquin? That's how you say it.
I think so.
And she sees someone she recognizes. And so Goblin is watching Reaper experience this. And
because he knows what's happening.
Right, and Sunny notices that something is off too. But we flash back to the queen before she was the queen, possibly like the king's concubine or a lady of the court, one of those things. So the king, or maybe at this point he's the prince, we don't know, is looking at her and smiling at her over a wall, and she smiles back really warmly. And so Sunny, back in real time, is asking Reaper what's wrong, but he isn't really hearing her fully, and he just looks at her and says, why exactly? I don't have anything to throw, but I would have if I had.
I would have raged thrown in the laundry basket.
Episode 9.
Episode 9. There's so much.
Alright, character of the hour. Oh, wait.
Unhinged theories.
Okay, my unhinged theory.
Yes.
So the CEO is actually Goblin.
Mm-hmm.
And UnTak has lost her memory after everything is said and done. So Goblin is actually granted another chance at life. This time it's a normal length, and he has to win over UnTak as a human this time. Hence why she's on a date for the first time with this guy. Or Goblin has disappeared. Sorry. Goblin has disappeared after the sword is gone, and Reaper sticks to his promise to wipe UnTak's memory before riding off into the sunset with Sunny as an MO, and Goblin doesn't actually die, comes back and finds out that UnTak doesn't remember him.
That was a lot.
Oh, that was 2 different theories.
I know, but that was still a lot.
These are what I told you were my final fleshed out theories for the ending.
Ooh, okay. I'm very excited.
Okay. We'll see how unhinged I truly am. Character of the hour.
Character of the hour. Reaper.
Reaper?
I think in this one. His willingness to even put his friendship on the line with Goblin to tell UnTak the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But then coming clean to Goblin and being like, no, I told her what was going on.
Huh, funny how that works.
Right.
Imagine that.
Amazing. But then also, agreeing to put in the paperwork so that they can look out for when something's going to happen. Like how do I want to put it? He's taken on this different role. We've mentioned earlier, how he's...
Was a protector, kind of.
Yeah, he's, becoming more humanized the more and more time he spends around UnTak.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really, like, he's developed these relationships now.
Yeah.
And he's not willing to sacrifice them.
I like that he's become a little bit of a rule bender.
Mm-hmm.
Because he seemed very strict, very stoic, very...
Right.
By the letter,
Right. But then, like, even just being there for Goblin when he's freaking out and still can't find her and...
Mm-hmm.
Still trying his hardest to make dates happen with Sunny, even though they are a little bit painful.
I mean...
But I also love, like, the interaction when he's in the chicken shop with his hat on and he's, like, apologizing to her, even though she doesn't know. Like, I'm so sorry that I had to wipe your memory, and I'm so sorry I had to cancel on you, and I'm so sorry about this. And then, after the phone goes off and she starts singing, and he's just like, yep, you're just the most precious thing I've ever seen. And so, yeah, I think in this one, or even, like, the pictures of, like, being, like, disgusted and just like, oh, and then being like, oh, wait, no, I don't want to be part of this. So, yeah, this one would be...
I feel like
Reaper.
UnTak has 2 older brothers. She has DeokHwa, who is more like her age, and then she has Reaper, who's kind of
the uncle, older brother.
Yeah, not quite a dad, because he's too weird for that, but...
Yeah.
The protective uncle who's like, yeah, I'll run over a bus full of people to help you out.
I'll put in this, the paperwork and to find out when you're gonna die, and then...
I'll risk the god's wrath.
Sit there and write a stupid long report.
He does so much paperwork, I just can't.
Sounds horrible.
Yeah, seriously.
Who's yours?
I feel like mine is Sunny. Goblin is just coming across more and more schmucky to me. He's just not being painted in a good light. And maybe he needs to resolve that character arc or that growth arc for him, but 900-year-old guy hitting on 19-year-old chick is wearing on my resolve. But Sunny asks all the questions.
Again.
Calls him out. Is in her own right extremely patient in her own relationship with a very uncommunicative and weird dude.
Oh, yeah, like, I would have kicked him to the curb a long time ago.
I don't know why. I mean, you do. You get why she's charmed by him. Because he's very...
adorable,
honest, and very genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And again, she's probably used to the player types that want something from her, or just to, have the eye candy. But
right.
I appreciate that she seems to be the most logical of everybody in this entire show. Between her and DeokHwa, even though DeokHwa's a little out there, I feel like he's very...
Well, for being a third generation Chibo.
He's pretty,
and being like 25.
Pretty with it when he needs to be, so I don't know. I think Sunny is my character of the hour this time. But final thoughts?
I like we talked about it earlier, the family dynamic that we get more of.
Mm-hmm.
And we get some answers at the end of our episode.
We do.
And I'm very excited for the rest of it. My little happy dance. How about yours?
I want the story to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited that we're delving into, the past. I think that's what we needed to get to, because it was starting to get a little tedious. Not being able to touch on those topics.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really excited to start digging into that, because this will start to hinge or unhinge my theories. So,
also true. Also true.
All right, well, episode 9.
Episode 9.
I don't have anything funny to add at the end of this one.
I don't either. I'm not gonna throw my glasses for.
You did it early.
I did it like a minute.
Like what you're hearing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any new episodes. We'd love to connect with you on our Instagram at the KDrama Show. For more behind-the-scenes content, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. Links are in the show notes. Thanks for hanging out with us on the KDrama Show with Ashley and Kim, and we'll see you next time.